What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. Welcome to PCP Movie Night. It's the show where we gather and we talk about a movie each and every single week here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I am your host, Rockin' Robbie Bills, and tonight we're talking about 12 Monkeys, a Terry Gilliam directed film. We're big fans of Terry Gilliam here on the channel. We've already covered Brazil, my personal favorite movie from Terry's work. However, this is just a continuation of the look into this iconic filmmaker's filmography. That sounded redundant. Speaking of redundant, we got Jelani with us tonight. What is up, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm always redundant, man. What's up?
Good to see you, man. Speaking of redundant, it's Brooks. What is up, my man? How you doing?
Hey.
First time watch for you.
Yeah, first time. Like I'd heard of this movie, but like I didn't know anything about it pretty much. Like I just remember it being like referenced a lot back in the day.
Yeah. Speaking of referencing a lot of movies back in the day, not so much today, it's Verno. What is up?
What up? I just want to get down on some of that redundancy with my boy Jelani. It just looked fun. I want to get down with that.
Yeah, that's right. Always with sight.
Yeah, just hit me right here.
All right. Well, as we got the West Side represented, we got to represent the East Side with Fable. What is up, my man?
Station redundancy in the house.
Yeah.
Super excited to have a loaded, awesome panel tonight to discuss 12 Monkeys. So when I put together the movie nights for the year, and y'all, everybody here on this panel, like y'all out there in the chat, you think we may kayfabe this shit? No, ask these dudes. I know exactly what I'm doing all year long. So when somebody gives me a good suggestion, I'm like, fuck, maybe next year. Yeah. Maybe next year we'll be able to get to that. But I've been planning on doing this one for a while. I purchased this on Arrow Video Blu-ray over a year ago for this because I knew I wanted to do Brazil and I knew I wanted to tackle 12 Monkeys after that. I'm glad that we are now here in this director spotlight. We've talked about Spike Lee. We've talked about Martin Scorsese. Now we're about to be talking about Terry Gilliam, another one of my favorite directors. Brazil, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Bandits, the Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. Like there is a storied career for Terry Gilliam, not even counting the fact that he is one of the members of the OG Monty Python crew, right? So come on, y'all. This dude's work is amazing from Holy Grail through the Python stuff to Jabberwocky, through Brazil, through 12 Monkeys, into today. Super excited to talk about this movie, which stars Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt, and Madeline Stowe. This movie was the second, well, it was the second attempt, we should say, by Terry Gilliam in the 90s to kind of course correct a little bit. He was known in Hollywood for being a tough dude to work with because he has a vision. He wants to do like things in a European art house cinema type way. And the studios just never really quite fit that. And there was a very, very public battle about the final cut of Brazil, which we covered last year when we talked about that movie. And then there was a period where after the Adventures of Baron von Munchausen, Gilliam was not getting much opportunities, right? And so he kind of did two movies to prove that he could still be trusted, that he could still turn a dollar. And that was Fisher King. And Fisher King was a big hit for him and a very, very good movie. Another movie we'll probably cover here. In my opinion, it might be my favorite Robin Williams role. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of good Robin Williams roles out there, but Fisher King is absolutely amazing. But then there was 12 Monkeys. Now, 12 Monkeys, he didn't want to work with Universal again because they're the ones that fucked him with Brazil. But they promised him final cut as long as he delivered it within the budget by a certain amount of days and at a certain rating at a certain length, which actually caused a lot of problems for Terry Gilliam. It's really interesting. There's a lot of bonus features on this Blu-ray. Terry does not like working in Hollywood, does not respect Hollywood, does not respect Hollywood actors, does not respect any part of the process of making a Hollywood movie. So this is a miracle that this movie comes out and absolutely dominates. I think still to date, it's Terry Gilliam's most successful picture financially. I love it. When I watched it back in the day, it blew my mind. Nowadays, I can pick it apart a little bit more than I could, say, 20 years ago, maybe when I last watched this film. However, it's got some great themes. It's got some great performances. It's got some great visuals. It's got some great structure. It's got some stuff that doesn't quite work. But in the long run, I think one of the problems with this movie is once you know and understand and grasp and comprehend that twist, the movie can be a little bit dull at times once you already know what's coming. But that first watch, 12 Monkeys, is hard to replicate. Speaking of hard to replicate, what about you, Jelani? What do you think about 12 Monkeys here on the rewatch? What's your history with it?
You are absolutely right about the rewatching of this film, because you got to watch it fresh for you to understand, like, wow. Because once I've seen this movie like, I think twice, I think a good 2 times. And this time when I watched it this third time, I'm like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. The very beginning of the movie tells me exactly what's going to happen. And you're just stuck in this ride for the rest of it, waiting for it to play out. So it doesn't feel the same as it did the first time I watched it. Because, yeah, the first time you watch it, I was blown away. This is one of those movies where it's just like, oh, what the hell's happening? Is he losing his mind? Is he going from 2 different places, 2 different realities? Is it there? Is it not there? Or is he supposed to be here? So it's one of those films where it just confuses you for a little bit. But then once you've seen it and you know, like, the scope of it, you understand that this is all happening. And you know, the man is clearly not insane, but he's driven insane by going back and forth. It's just one of those films that just does this. I have a brief history with it. I thought it was weird the first time I saw it. I liked it, but it was weird. And another thing I wanted to say, 12 Monkeys is one of those films that's the biggest red herring title ever made, because 12 Monkeys have nothing to do with it. And it's very crazy that Terry Gilliam came up with this. I think it came from like an original story.
Yeah, based on a French
movie.
I think it's based on a French film that's like a 27-minute short film, which is really just a series of still images, right?
Mhm.
And it's actually inspired by it. It's not the same story, but it has some of the same motifs. And Terry Gilliam didn't have anything to do with the script on this one or Fisher King. Those were his 2 movies that he did where he was like not super involved at that point. You know, he just kind of came in as a director for hire, which is not something he was comfortable with doing. And it caused some issues with him on this film, but he refused to actually watch that original film because he didn't want it to influence the process at all, right? Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's definitely a wild film. It's one of those crazy watches that you just pop in, and if you really want to just be in the conspiracy mode and see, you know, hey, does a virus actually kill 5 billion people? That sounds pretty cool. Let's see if that happens. And a lot of the prophecies, I mean, some of that stuff, you know, may come back up in the future. I don't know. I mean, it could happen. It sounds like we almost got close to it in 2020. So
Did we? I don't know. That's another show. Brooks, speaking of another show, thank you for not being on that other show to be here tonight. What did you think about 12 Monkeys for your first watch?
Yeah, like this is a movie, like, you know, I'd heard, like I said, I'd heard people talk, like, mention it before, but like nobody ever, like, I never knew, nobody ever explained what it was about. And it's one of those movies that, you know, you have to kind of see it to believe it, I think, or to, you know, to know what it's about, really. And I liked it quite a lot. You know, I did watch it twice because I felt like, you know, the first time I watched it, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a second watch, you know, just to, you know, parse some things out. And like I really like this movie. Like it has a lot of messages it's sending, but I really like the message about the kind of youthful rebellion that's kind of like, you know, it's, you know, the kind of performative aspects of a lot of, like, you know, of how kids will like act out against their parents, and, you know, and it's like there's a lot to this movie, you know. There's a lot of it has a lot of messages in it. but it's still like it's also still an entertaining, movie. It's a good story, and overall, I'd say it was worth the watch.
All right.
The
Worth
two
the watch and
watches.
worth the rewatch, right?
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Verna? What do you think about 12 Monkeys?
I think it's awesome. It's like, first and foremost, it's just cool. It's just a cool ass movie. It's got everything that I love about movies, especially like when it came out. Post-apocalyptic. It's got Bruce Willis in it. That's just badass. And I love anytime a movie like plays with the structure where the beginning is the end, the way they're flashing back to his little dream the whole time. I'm a sucker for that kind of structure built into a movie. But yeah, I would say it's just fun. And I hadn't watched it in like probably 5 or 6 years. This is probably my third time seeing it, and I forgot the twist. I forget the twist every time. So for me, I you know what I mean? I love having a short memory like that, because the whole time I knew that there was something, but at the end I'm like, oh yeah, that's what the fuck it is. So, I enjoyed the hell out of it on the rewatch.
Hell yeah. Goldfish Verno, thank you for those thoughts. What about you, Fable? What do you think about this film?
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's a certified classic, man. You're right; it does lose a step on a rewatch if you know what's going on and what's happening. But at the same time, I would call it like an inverted Alice in Wonderland. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching this guy go from Wonderland to the real world kind of thing. And it's just this like cool little journey. Like Verno said, it's just a cool movie. And it works on so many levels, It's like a love story. It's a mind-bending science fiction story, you know what I mean? It's a psychological thriller. Does a lot of things, working on a lot of levels, like Brooks was saying. There's a lot to it. So, yeah, it's a bona fide classic. I love this movie.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. So overall, we're telling y'all, check it out. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. This movie's got a great cast and some great performances. We've mentioned Bruce Willis already. For instance, at this time, it was hard to separate Bruce Willis from roles like John McClane in Die Hard, right? Yeah. From The Last Boy Scout. It's hard to separate him from that. Now we know him more of having a career of action movies balanced with these more dramatic roles, right? But at the time, we didn't really have that. So a really solid performance from most of the cast here. Who's someone you want to highlight, Jelani?
I'm going to go with Brad Pitt. I'm taking Brad Pitt because, like, he's my favorite character in this movie. Every time I watch it, he's a complete insane nutbag, and it shows. His performance is fantastic. That eye he has, like, I don't know if that's a fake eye or it's a large contact
lens. Yeah, contact.
It just looks so crazy, and he is crazy. And like I said, 12 Monkeys is based on his army of people, and it's the biggest red herring in the movie because you assumed, oh, it's 12 monkeys. These are the people that started the global pandemic that killed billions of people. They're like, no, they're just animal rights activists that let some animals out of a zoo. And like, I love his reasoning for how he explains why his people they're following him, or who cares what's on the walls? I don't care what's on the walls. I'm gonna tell you. And he tells the whole story about how they like got in his mind, and like they're people that are like deciphering his every move, so they know like 10 years in the future of what he's about to do before he does it. And he's just like, these people are just where they are. And then like at the end of his crazy speech, the guy at the end, he's like, right on, man, right on. And then the other guy's like, he's crazy, right? Yeah,
right.
He's crazy.
That line stuck out to me as like being from a different movie. Like it didn't fit when he's like, he's crazy. It was a little too waka waka.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was funny.
Yeah, it throws me off every time. But Brad Pitt's performance throws me off every single time. He's like, he's so crazy. He's just he's loving the role he's in. He's chewing up the scenery for how good he is in this film. And
he actually committed himself to a mental hospital in preparation for this role.
That's method. That's how you do it.
Get out of my seat.
It was definitely.
I wonder if somebody at the mental institution did that to him.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna use that.
And I'm thinking all of the ideas that he probably pumped out gave David Morse the idea to spread the virus, and it's just what was it? I saw something. It was called a call causational loop, a causational time loop, how you can't really stop it because it's already running, it's already happened.
Right.
So pretty much you cannot stop what is going on. So,
Yeah.
the ideas that Brad Pitt gets, it's like, oh, maybe there is something that can destroy the world or something like that. Somehow that idea passes on to David Morse and then moves on to the virus.
One of the things I love about this
so-
movie is that I think it actually has one of the best interpretations of how time travel works. Like, time travel is just, I mean, okay, that's cool. You can go back to the past. We're talking about time travel to the past. You can't change anything. It all
Right.
exists. The past, let me blow everybody's mind right now. According to the laws of physics, the past, the present, and the future all coexist and are all now.
At the same
It's
time.
all now. It's all happening. If you pull yourself out of this dimension, we are what's called like basically a bulk or a loaf of space-time. Everything that was or is or will be is already there. This movie plays with those ideas. It's like the Oedipus shit, right? Where trying to undo the prophecy actually kind of causes the prophecy in a way, right? But
Right.
Brad Pitt's amazing in this film. He was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in this film, but lost to douchebag Kevin Spacey for a brilliant performance in Usual Suspects.
Usual
all right?
Suspects.
Yeah, that's a great performance. That's a great performance.
Yeah.
The dude's a douchebag, but that's a
He
great
is.
performance. Speaking
is
of being a
awful.
douchebag, but performing great on air, Brooks, what do you think? What's a character you want to highlight?
Yeah, thanks for that.
You
But,
douche.
it's more of a kind of a group of characters, but the science ghouls, the scientists who like send the people back in time, like these
Yeah.
guys are just so like cartoonish and ridiculous, and like they feel like
You
the
talking
most
about these
Terry
dudes?
Gilliam aspect of
Yeah.
the movie in a way. Yeah, like they're always like the way they had the one in like the big face and that giant fucking reflecting thing, and the way like even the way they talk, like like when he first comes back, he's like, "Oh, did you spend your time doing drugs
Right.
and chasing women?" And it's like they're just and like another line I really liked was when they're sending him back and like the dude's like, try if you can get another spider, try bringing it back again, or something like that. And like it's like I hate them because they're so bad and they're just these callous scumbags who like use people for their own ends. But like they're so entertaining too. Like when he comes, there's another time when he comes back and they start singing to him. And like, we heard you like music. So yeah. They seem to be like the villain of the movie in a way, but in a very like kind of background way. They're kind of like
Peripheral villain.
They're there, but they only show up when they absolutely needed to to be reminded that these are the assholes that are fucking causing all this misery.
Are they causing the misery, or are they trying to like solve the problem? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're kind of like trying to solve the problem.
Wasn't the lady one of the lady
lady was
scientists like the one who was on the plane?
She
with the
works in
dude?
insurance.
Well,
Yep.
that's because she's there to like continue Bruce's mission, Cole's mission, right? Like everything is there's not a cause and effect thing necessarily happening in a linear way in the time travel aspects of this movie. It's not like Back to the Future where you can go back 50 years, change something, and now you've changed the future. That's not the timeline. That's not what's established in this film. This is more realistic, in my opinion, where if Bruce Willis went back in time and did all this shit, it happened it happened already. Like it's already been there. That's why he has the dream of seeing himself die. He's always had that dream. It's not new information introduced to the universe, right? So what she's doing is she's there because now they know who took the virus on board. And now she goes back to that moment. That's why she's on board that plane, so she can pinpoint where the virus is spread because they're trying to build the cure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like she's stopping
Unfortunately-
the people from dying. She's just exactly.
It's like
finding a
they
way
only
to
get
cure the
information,
future.
right?
Yeah, she basically, he already released the virus. He released the virus in the airport.
I love that.
When he opened it. I'm like, he released it already in this area.
All up on
So
himself too, man. He's just like,
Yeah, all of himself. That's why he looks sick.
Never seen a dude so happy to get fucking
Yeah.
COVID-19, except for Verno, because he got to miss work for a while there. Anyway, Verno, what about you, man? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Thank you, Brooks, first of all, for picking who you did. I looked at where I'm at. I'm like, oh, shit. I guess I'm going to have to go. But I'm going with Bruce Willis, thankfully. As good as this movie is, there's really, in my opinion, there's only like 3 characters that are like really characters that are developed at all. But, I mean, we mentioned it, Bruce Willis. I bet all of us, like, he's a huge part of my childhood. Come on. I mean, he's like one of the biggest stars in the world. But he, like, what he does in this movie, Robbie, you touched on it, like, he's so versatile just in this film alone. He plays the action star. He plays this badass. He's kind of scary at times. And he does the love story and all that, but he's so vulnerable. He's like a child at times when they're playing the music and he's in the back seat. He's like, oh, put that on. That's just like, you're not going to see Schwarzenegger like get that vulnerable, or a lot of these big action stars, especially from that era. So yeah, he just murders it, dude. I love, and his character is super interesting too. The way he goes through the movie, and the way he goes kind of insane throughout the whole course of the thing. But and the fact that at the beginning he's not really involved in it. He's just passive. He's only going there because they sent him there. And then throughout the course of the movie, he's down with the cause and he gets more invested. He gets the other character, the female character, invested. But yeah, he's amazing. And this is one of my favorite movies that he's ever done, I think.
Yeah. So one of the caveats for Terry Gilliam to get final cut in this film is the fact that he had to get big name actors, right? So they didn't necessarily choose these guys to be in there. He had a choice as well, but he saw something in Bruce Willis that he thought he could bring out. Like in Die Hard, he keeps mentioning this on the DVD or on the Blu-ray, right? He keeps mentioning that in the scene when John's like pulling the glass out of his foot and he's like talking to his wife or whatever on the phone and he's like tearing up and he meets Bruce and Bruce says, oh, that was my idea. He's like, this dude wants to reach. And Bruce Willis at this time was wanting to reach. And Brad Pitt had just been named sexiest man alive and was trying to go against that image, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to go against that grain. And Terry Gilliam was blessed actually with these 2 big name actors who were trying to go against type. Because in no way, shape, or form would Terry Gilliam have Bruce Willis in a movie to be Bruce Willis, right? And I love that he says he doesn't like big name actors, but Brazil had Robert De Niro in it. And by the 80s, yeah, Robert De Niro is a big fucking name, but he's playing a very anti-Robert De Niro type role in that film, right? So that's an interesting little tidbit there as well. But Bruce Willis nails it in this movie, man, with that vulnerability, like you're talking about, Verno. Speaking of vulnerable, this man's invulnerable. Fable. What about you? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with Madeline Stowe's character, the doctor, because she starts out not believing anything. She just wants to help this guy. First of all, she's just a very nice lady. You know what I mean? She just wants to help this dude, and through the course of the movie, it's almost like she goes crazy. And by being with him, it's like she almost goes nuts, and she portrays it really good, and when her mind starts to unravel, when her reality starts to break, and it's like, holy shit, this guy's telling the truth. And then when she starts realizing that he's maybe telling the truth, he's fighting against it, like, no, I'm crazy.
You told me I was crazy, woman. What is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Why are you gaslighting me?
Yeah, and so she's going even more nuts because now she's believing the guy and he's telling her that, no, I'm nuts. So it's crazy, but at the same time falling in love with him. All those emotions, she shows it very well. So yeah, I guess Madeline Stowe, absolutely. Vern's right though. There's only like 3 characters in this movie.
Right.
And it could really.
Well, 3 characters in the ensemble of the future douchebag
all the other
scientists.
characters,
You're trying, right? But I'll tell you this: I'm going to highlight Frank Gorshin as the leader of the asylum.
Nice.
Because
the Riddler.
Yeah, it's Frank Gorshin. He's the Riddler. And Terry Gilliam says in the commentary that Frank came to read for some stuff, and he wanted a bigger role, right? Because he was going to get like some small role. I don't remember which one it was. He's like, surely there's a bigger role for me. And Terry's like, well, what would you want to play? He says, I want to play the dude in charge of the pharmaceutical company or whatever. He goes, well, we've already got that for Christopher Plummer. How about the leader of the asylum? And Terry Gilliam says he did a great job. he nailed the role, which he does. And he said that it's kind of like the same thing with what Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis at the height of their careers were experiencing. Frank Gorshin was experiencing towards the end of his career, where he was being typecast as certain things and wanted to kind of go a little bit different than that, a little bit beyond that, right? So he cast him as the leader of the head of the mental hospital, because he said it just cracked him up that the Riddler was in charge of the asylum.
Yeah.
So that just cracked him up. But this movie, of course, with that great cast, has a great director, has a great cinematographer. It's all about style and structure. Jelani, what do you think about the style and structure of this film?
This film is brilliant for the way it's shot. It really is. I like the scene where Bruce Willis goes above ground for the first time. When he goes above ground, you can see that the city and how it's the snow has covered everything and it's dilapidated, but it's got all the animals and and he meets that bear for the first time. I love that shot with the bear. I don't know what it is, but it freaks me out every time. And so when he sees the bear, the stuffed bear in the shop,
yeah,
he's like taken aback by it because he doesn't know what's going on.
Those are all real animals, by the way. Every scene, real elephants running through.
Wow.
Real tigers, real lions, where
Real
they're
giraffes.
supposed to be, like real shit going on, man.
Really, those
That's
giraffes
crazy.
looked off to me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the giraffes, but I know the elephants and the tigers for sure.
But everything running around was insane. I love how for the budget, from what I'm hearing, the budget was very smaller. The budget that they had was small, but he was able to make a lot of it. Like the room, the cages that everyone was in, I'm pretty sure that was just in one little box section of a warehouse somewhere.
$29 million was the budget in 1995 when they made this film. Like, no, that's nothing for this ambitious of a film.
Right. And I'm sure Bruce Willis
It
and
looks
Brad Pitt
larger.
got to take up a big chunk of that.
Actually, Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis took a pay cut because they wanted to work with Terry Gilliam.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense. It's such a beautifully shot film, and the fact that they cut the budget for the actors to be there, even though I watched a Charlie Rose interview with Terry Gilliam, and he was big on this. He was like, yeah, they gave me amount of money. I was able to work with it and get the film I wanted to make. And he was very proud of 12 Monkeys, the way he was talking to Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose just like, yeah, man, yeah. And it makes a lot of sense that he was able to do this, because like a movie like this film now, that would be what, $200-300 million just for fun, and they'd lose money somehow be a flop because the CG would be terrible in some form or fashion. But it looks all practical. It works very well.
Yeah.
Everything about it, like I like how the pictures correspond with what's going on, of course. But I love the scene where she spray paints on the side of the wall. The 5 billion people die and all that stuff, and like you see the photo of it a little earlier of what was going on, and I like how of course it's time travel, but it's all woven in so well. The story of it, like you were saying, Fernando, that the end is the beginning, and it's non-linear in a lot of different ways. It just goes back and forth, especially when he's sent back in time. Which this was another question I had: how are they doing the time travel? Because all of a sudden they just wake up. They don't really tell you. There's not really a super machine here for real. It's like this big bubble, and then they just wake up in these places.
They're shooting them through like some kind of fucking tunnel or something, right?
Like a tunnel
I'm
or
assuming
something,
it's
and
like
then-
a Mario warp tunnel, right?
Yeah.
In fact, this may actually be a prequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie starring Dennis Hopper and Bob Hoskins.
Whew,
Classic.
what a piece of shit.
Think about that.
Yes,
The virus leads to the dino evolution and the rise of King Koopa.
King Koopa,
All coming together.
Dennis Kappa.
And Bob Hoskins, who was a maintenance man in Brazil, graduates, starts his own business with his brother as plumbers. So it's also tied in with Brazil. Ha ha!
You never know.
The Gilliam verse ties into the Mario verse. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk that? My thoughts on the style and structure, because it seemed like I was losing connection when I was starting this bit, but I think it runs a bit too long in the second act. And the reason why it runs too long in the second act to me is highlighted by my biggest problem of this movie. I've never have, and I probably never will. I just do not buy into the love story in this movie. I do not understand anytime I watch this movie when she has that moment to just take the fuck off and she decides to stay. I never understand that. I never understand it because I don't. And I know that this movie is supposed to have more ambiguity than it actually does. Terry wanted this movie. He didn't want that tacked on ending. He wanted it to be very ambiguous, whether it's in his head or whether it's real or what the themes were. He didn't want to like spell it out for the audience. And what's crazy is that he doesn't. Now, when they were screening this film, the biggest problems people said was it drags a bit in the middle and I don't buy the love story. He chose not to make any changes and he had a very successful film. So kudos to him. But that's my problem with this movie. I don't buy that love story at all. And I do feel it drags a little bit. Once the kidnapping happens, it just kind of slows up just a little bit. And at a certain point in the movie, I keep going, man, the stuff in the mental hospital felt so long ago. Can we get to this next bit? And especially once you know where the film's going, then it kind of really makes it a little bit more obvious. So, but stylistically, it looks amazing. The props, the set, the special effects, the way it's shot, the cinematography, the lighting, everything about it. Most of the editing, it all works for me. I just think it drags a little bit, and that love story is what drags it down for me. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about style and structure of the film?
I think, when I watched this movie, like, it didn't feel much to me like a Terry Gilliam movie. Like, it doesn't have like that as much of the kind of, it was kind of like this kind of weird out there kind of feel to it that a lot of his movies have. Like, but it's there, but it's like it seems more subdued. But like I do like this movie. Like it is kind of like it is a movie that makes you think, but it doesn't like confuse you. Like it's easy to follow, but at the same time it tells a pretty complex story. And like so you have to put it together, but it's not difficult to put it together. And like even on my first time, I felt like I'd gotten pretty much most of what I needed out of the movie, but I just wanted to revisit just cause. And like I think it's a movie that could get better over time, but I can also see it getting like less effective over time as well. Like like you said, like the twist does kind of like it changes the viewing experience of the entire movie for like every subsequent, unless you have like a goldfish brain like Verno and you immediately forget everything about it.
It was been 5 years, Brooks. It's been a minute. Okay. A lot of things have happened. We went through a pandemic. Come on.
Everybody blaming we blame COVID for everything, man. Yeah, dude, I didn't remember 12 Monkeys because of COVID-19, man. Like, fuck. Who remembers?
Maybe the Men in Black have just like flashed Verno one too many times.
They show up at his house every time he watches a Terry Gilliam film.
Yeah. Like, who saw aliens this time? This guy again? Damn.
Verno, what do you think about the style and structure, if you can remember?
I have no idea, dude. We're talking about Pulp Fiction, right? I love it, dude. I mean, to me, as like fun as this movie is, it's disoriented and like almost like anxiety inducing. And they do a really good job with making you feel what Bruce Willis is going through with the camera movement, with the editing and the performances. But I'm going to say this and then I'm going to decide if I actually mean it because I'm just thinking it. But like they're in all the environments that you're in, they're all so different, but they're all like connected. The future, when they get to the present in the city, it still feels almost as gritty as the future. And then they're in the mental society, they're there. And it feels the same way, but yeah, it's stylistically, it's really, really well done. As far as the structure, I already touched on it, but what was I gonna say? Oh, the love story. I wanted to. That's what weirds me out. I do kind of buy it just because of how much I buy into Bruce Willis's performance, and I could see her feeling sorry for him and kind of going that route. But there's something where she remembers it. That's what I don't really buy.
Yeah.
She knows him.
Like it's like she's like drawn to him somehow.
Yeah, that just
that's
doesn't
the
fit
part
in.
that's missing, that they never kind of
Yeah.
expound
They
on that
reveal a
because
little
she
bit,
mentioned
like-
it.
Yeah, they reveal a little bit because she's been studying the idea of this doomsday cult. And like, I know we remember this, but maybe some people, nobody here is young and on the fucking chat. I mean, I'm sure y'all are all in your fucking 30s and 40s, but like back in like the 90s, like doomsday millennium situation, like that was prevalent. There were a lot of scenarios that were put out there by so-called prophets or crazy people that were saying the world's going to end.
Right.
We're nearing the next millennium and shit like that. So that was something that's on the nose. She's studying this and she recognizes him from some of the shit she's been studying, I guess, like the picture of the French soldier, right? That's where she saw him before. But I would have liked a little bit more, like maybe there was another, because there's one moment where he goes back way far to World War I just so he can get shot by a bullet so that he can like
but I love that. I love that. To me, I get it. It's simple, but that's like one of my favorite bits.
Well, what if there was a section where he goes back to the 70s or the 80s and he like she runs across him like in her teenage years or something like that, like to just show a little bit more. And I think the idea is that I would have loved it if he had crisscrossed her path, not just in her study, but in her actual life path to lead up to this. And that I guess the whole idea too is this: if they're looking at time travel and the way it works is the bulk is all the past, present, and future all exists. It's all real. It's all now. So it's all happened. It all is happening and it all will happen. Right. Like then there's this idea of that's being played with, and we're not getting into the theme right now, but there's this idea of destiny that's being played with in this movie. And maybe they could have, the idea I think is that it's destined that these two are lovers. Right.
Yeah, that's what I caught off of it. I got that same thing.
There's a hole there, right?
Yeah. Just because when she said that tied it in for me. It was like, oh, this is a destined love story. This is a love story told over different time zones, different periods. Like you said, that time running concurrent. But I wish they would have fleshed out how she felt she knew him.
Right. Just the last thing I was going to say on the style is, Brooks, you touched on the scientist and what adds to that, the way that they're going back and forth and the way that they're speaking, but there's this reverb that's put on their voices just to make it feel more dreamlike, and just like there's little touches throughout the film like that add to the dreamlike quality of it that really put it over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Fable, why don't you elaborate a little bit? What do you think about the style and the structure?
Yeah, I got to echo Verno's whole thoughts with that. I agree. I think the way it's shot, I think the way it's done, it's totally to make you go crazy too. You know, it's like you're kind of reflecting Bruce Willis. You're kind of reflecting everybody. Everybody's crazy in this movie to a degree, right? Everybody's got a little bit of psychosis. She's going nuts. He's nuts. The guy who owns the company is nuts. His son is nuts. The guy who works for him is nuts. Everybody's psycho.
That's the nuttiest dude out of all of them, man.
Yeah.
First of all, what's up with that ponytail, brother? Come on, man.
That's a long
and them
ponytail.
shoes. Right. I know it's 1995, but goddamn, bro, come on.
Yeah.
What are those?
He's that dude that run over fucking bugging out shoes with a bike and fucking do the right thing.
But what I love most about this movie, I actually think it is a lot of Terry Gilliam in this movie. Because his design of the future in particular, all the way everything looks in that future is so silly. It's so ridiculous. Did you see the suit he was wearing? It was literally like junk pieces all over it. It's weird plastic, which is brilliant to use that type of thing if you're trying to make everybody believe that he's crazy. Because that's the kind of future a crazy person would imagine, you know what I mean? He's surrounded by them. They're singing to him. There's a fucking painting hanging over him directly. Or he's in this chair that lifts for no fucking reason. It just goes up and it's tied to a bunch of wires that don't make sense. You know, it's like, and it's also beautiful. You know, it's like a Mobius painting come to life or something like that. So yeah, no, I love the style and structure of this film. Besides like Vern said, the telling the end at the beginning and all that other stuff. It's also just beautiful.
So the music is done by Paul Buckmaster. Paul Buckmaster was part of a band called Third Ear Band, and co-wrote and performed on music from Macbeth, the soundtrack album to the Polanski Macbeth film, right? Also did some stuff for Harry Nilsson's Son of Dracula, and his band contributed to the original soundtrack of The Man Who Fell to Earth, which is a movie starring David Bowie, which I'm a big fan of, right? The score in this movie, and this dude hasn't really done too much on his own as far as compositions go for film scores, but the score in this movie is great, right? Like, first of all, there's that main theme it sounds very like French New Wave, right? And it's got, this movie has a very European art house kind of vibe to it, right? That's Terry Gilliam, right? That's who he is. That's what he does. That's the world he exists in. He's trying to make art. He's trying to make you feel something, right? And it's interesting to see that 2 of the times out of a very few that he worked in that Hollywood system, we got really powerful movies like Fisher King and this, right? But the music's a big part of that. So the music is actually based on like Argentinian, I don't know, some kind of Argentinian like dance music or something like that. Like, it's kind of based on that. It sounds like it's using an accordion in that main theme. It's got this quirky, whimsical quality to it that I love. But there are other times where this score is incredibly nuanced and emotional and hard-hitting. All the dream sequences, this violin's playing. It's actually based on a previously written piece of music, but they felt that it worked in so well that they integrated that into the movie. We see the references visually to Alfred Hitchcock's work in this film when they're watching Vertigo, for instance, right? And there's even a bit of the Vertigo score that's thrown in there when we see Madeline Stowe's character come out with the blonde wig, just like the character does in Vertigo, right? They do a little bit of the music there. The music is so understated. And you notice it when it does the you notice it, you get into the vibe of the film, but you really don't notice every single thing that it's doing. I think this is one of the most brilliant scores of a film from the 90s, 100%. What about you, Jelani? What do you think about the music?
Yeah, I agree, man. It's one of those, and that's the sound I was thinking of. You said accordion. Yeah, it's a lot of that. It's it's in there a lot, man. And yeah, it's in the parts where the plot is picking up, and you can tell that it's just there. But yeah, this music is also very muted. So it's not around a lot, and there's not a soundtrack. There's no music, I think like Don't Fear the Reaper would be in something like this. I don't know. It feels like it would be appropriate in this movie, but
so I know that they did a 12 Monkeys show on Sci-Fi Channel. I guarantee you they used fucking Don't Fear the Reaper, right?
Yeah, probably more than likely. It's a cliche thing to do. But
ever since The Stand, especially, right?
Yep. So you need to have something that's muted like this. It was appropriate for this movie. I can't really say too much about it because there wasn't that much going on for that part.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Dr. War God, for the super chat there. New Mount Rushmore, Kirby, Tezuka, Mobius, Jim Lee.
Jim Lee.
Interesting.
Okay. That's worth $2. All right. Brooks, what about you? What do you think about the music in the film?
It's fine. Like, it's there when it needs to be, and it serves its purpose. Like, I didn't find it to be like particularly. I think it's too successful. Is its problem? Is like it fits so well with the movie that you can't help but like not think about it. Because like I remember the second time I watched it, like, okay, I'm gonna listen a little harder for the soundtrack, and I didn't. Like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't keep paying attention to the soundtrack because it just like it was almost like it was too seamless within the movie, and like I couldn't think about it outside of I couldn't think of it outside of this movie. Like if you played me a song from this movie, I might be able to discern it was from this movie, but like I probably wouldn't.
Okay. If I play that theme, though, you'll recognize it. And that's the sign of a good
score. The
score.
opening theme does have that kind of distinctive sound to it.
Did you guys see what Jay just said, though?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, it's in almost everything.
Why are we not running Hollywood, y'all?
I knew it. 100%. It's apocalyptic show. You have to put,
Yeah, no shit. You
Canadian
gotta put that
based
one
show.
in.
Come on.
you gotta put
Yeah.
in there.
Coming.
And then you got the goddamn Christopher Walken SNL skit, and so it just bumped it up even more into the
Yeah.
algorithm, right?
Right.
What about you, Verna? What do you think about the music in the film?
Dude, I'm kind of right there with Brooks. I only noticed the score. There was like three moments that I noticed the score. It just didn't jump out to me at all. Score wise, there was two songs that did stand out to me. One is Blueberry Hill because I grew up on Blueberry Hill
Yeah.
and I just love that song. There's another one. I tried to look it up, but there's like this slide guitar bit that they keep going, and I think it was in La Bamba. I feel like it's like with Richie when his body's
that's,
freaking out. I think it's that song right
that's
there. And
called-
I love it.
That's called Moonwalker, Santo Richie, something like that. Santo Richie,
Moonwalker.
something
I thought
like
that was
that. Yeah,
the Michael Jackson video
Sleepwalker.
game. What the
Yeah, no,
fuck?
it's called like Sleepwalking or something like that. It's from Santo Richie. I know because when I did beats and stuff, I tried to sample that record.
Dude,
Nice.
I mean, to me, that's one of
Yeah.
it's as the kids would say, it's a vibe. That song
Yeah.
right there. I love that. But that's
I
what
love
stood
that
out to
song.
me the most, man.
Yeah. Dreamwalker. There it is. See?
All right,
Yeah,
nice.
something like that.
And
Sleepwalking, something like that.
the composer, and there's a really great like hour-and-a-half documentary that was made about this movie, and it's about the making of the film, and it's on this DVD Blu-ray, but it's also on YouTube. You can just find it and watch it. And
nice.
in there's a bit where the composer says they're talking about it, and the composer's like, I don't want my score to be noticed in the film.
Yeah.
Like I want
Okay.
it to I want it to not feel like it's telling you how to feel, but also affecting the way you feel with the imagery, right? And I think that's why it's so good. Sometimes some of the best scores we talk about are the ones we don't notice.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I'm always blown away. Like, I expected you to be like, well, it didn't really stand out. You get like, it's one of the best. I'm like, God damn, how do you hear this? Like, what?
Yeah.
What's in it that
It's
you're
true.
not hearing? Yeah.
It's more subtle than a John Carpenter score. Let's just say that, where it's like dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Fable, what about you, man? Speaking of being a little bit more nuanced than just being so obvious. Okay, what do you think of the music?
Oh, yeah, I agree with what everybody said, man. I think it's so effective that it goes unnoticed. It's really good. It does its job. You do notice the accordion bits when it's like, that reminds me of like, I don't know, the Pink Panther or something. I don't know. It reminds me of a British like mystery.
Reminds you of some Monty Python, doesn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
does.
Yeah, it has that feel to it. And also, I also remember the music of when everything slows up at the end and they finally play out that scene that he's been dreaming about. It finally plays out and it's in like slow motion and everything.
Mhm.
There's a musical cue that goes on through that scene that's really noticeable. But besides that, yeah, I don't really notice it, which means it's doing good. It's doing its job.
Can I just say, I want to have a super cut of just every time on this show ever that someone is just one after the other for like an hour and a half.
There are a lot of us.
PCP Excitable crew mimicking the score to fucking 12 Monkeys. I think it's Australian or my bad, Argentinian waltz or some shit like that is what it is. To me, like my first thought was polka, right? Because it's like, I don't know if it is an accordion, but it sounds like one to me. Like, wah, wah, wah. Here's another one for the bit, in case you're putting this together. Wah, 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 wah. Anyway, what Dr. War God, Rob Liefeld, come on, man, get out. What are you talking about? Rob Liefeld was emulating Kirby's energy more than Jim Lee was, but that doesn't have anything to do with 12 Monkeys. But the 12 Monkeys, as Brooks alluded to, has a lot of themes, has a lot of things that it's exploring. What is it speaking to you, Jelani? What's this movie about?
Well, to me, it says, what is the reality? What do we consider is real? Like you said before, Robbie, the past, the present, and future are all one thing. It's kind of like Arrival. See the beginning, middle, and end all at once. You can't really change it. It's just something that's there. And Bruce Willis portrays that perfectly. in this movie. Like, is he going insane? Does he know? He is of a rational mind at the beginning of it. He just wants a job to be pardoned. He just wants to get out of the cage that he's been living in all this time. And he comes out, but he doesn't like the way that he gets his pardon, because he's fully pardoned and he can escape at any time, but he wants to breathe the air. He wants to see the ocean. He wants to, get his life out of the muck and the mire that he is in. And time travel seems to be the way to go. So it's what we perceive is our reality. And our reality is a lot of different things. Like, we live in a world where we have rules, we have responsibilities, we have a lot of structure. And what if that structure goes away? Or what if what we knew as our reality is turned on its head? All the norms and all the things that we do in one place won't work for another. And it's how we would respond to it, how we treat it. And I believe, if you're having problems like this, going to time travel, for example, causational loops, things of that nature. I mean, I would go a little crazy too. You think you know what it is, and you don't. You have no idea. There was another video I watched, and it brings up like the best time travel movie ever made, which is oh God, I forgot it. Oh, Primer. Primer is the best time travel movie because it's written by actual physicists that studies time and to figure out how two guys accidentally make a time machine and they don't know what to do with it. It's one of those things where it messes with your reality, because once you're able to change, they were able to change little things, but at the same time, it didn't change too much. They had to hide themselves for a day and sleep in a box and then wake up out of that box in a different time period, like a minute or two ahead. It would be like a day ahead. The mechanics of that movie, it's you got to watch it. You got to watch Primer. But as far as our reality, as far as what we perceive as real, this is what this movie kind of brings to the table. And that's what I get out of it. I mean, what you think is real sometimes isn't.
I'm rather proud of you, because one of the points I was going to make is the film's about perception of reality. And I know that to be a fact because Terry Gilliam himself says, above all things else, this movie to me is about the perception of reality.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, damn, Jelani, rock on. Good for you. Usually you're just like, fuck the police.
And fuck the police, by the way. Yeah.
Damn, why'd you say that?
Because I saw Billy in the chat, so I wanted to fucking.
I completely forgot. These fucking suck. They're in this movie too, and they're no help. No one helps.
Brooks,
cops aren't there for shit.
Brooks, what's this? All right, Jelani, calm down. Brooks, what's this? Just a bit. Brooks, what's this movie about to you?
I think a big theme of this movie is kind of like the way that authority deals with like a crisis like this, you can tell that like this virus is like really hit humanity hard, but like humanity is trying, like there's an idea that we can come back somehow, and these authority figures, it's like the idea is like, oh, it was the responsibility, it was this group of kids who like fucked it up, but then it turns out it wasn't. And it's the whole idea of how people who think they can fix something can just use people as treat people as like disposable things to go back and do something for them to for the good of humanity. It's like this whole idea that people have this person is less important and more disposable, but he or she can be used to fix something at the cost of their own existence. And it's better because they're helping out the rest of humanity, and who really cares about them, because to them that person is disposable, that person's experience isn't as important as the greater good, which there is kind of a point to that, But at the same time, it's kind of like just the philosophy behind it is kind of like, very callous, and I don't really subscribe to it as much. My thing is like, when you fuck up, you just gotta fucking roll with it. But there is always like, an attitude, when things get bad, like, oh, can we somehow like, course correct by going backwards? And like, I think that's like, it's not a good way to go about it.
Yeah, the way forward is never backwards, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
All right, man. Great thoughts so far. Verno?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say all that stuff, but I was gonna make it sound even smarter. But no, I mean, it's definitely not the main thing that it's saying, but it's like third or fourth on my list of themes is the way that Bruce Willis's reputation keeps following him. Like we start out, he's like trapped in this cage, but he's got a reputation. This one's violent. And it's like they kind of they put him in that box and probably made him violent. As soon as he gets sent to the present time or the past or whatever, he's acting violent because of the situation that he's in. And then now he's got a reputation in that timeline and it keeps following him. And he can't escape his violent reputation, even though he's not necessarily the full reason why he was acting violent in the first place. He got put in those situations. So that's I had a feeling I might have to stretch a little bit. So luckily I wrote that down too.
Hell yeah. Good going, Verno. I'm proud of you. What about you, Fable? What you got?
I was gonna go perception of reality as well, but I'll tack on to it that it's really trying to say like who's really fucking crazy, right? Like who really is crazy? Like who can you say for real is crazy? Because all of these people are nuts in this movie. Every single character is a degree of nuts, but it's also like the top person, right? Like a person with power, all the way down to like the street level, the bums and shit. They're fucking nuts too. Like, it's in your teeth, boss. It's everybody's freaking nuts. The street evangelist. You're one of us. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just like you said, perception of reality, but it's also like everybody's crazy. I think it's trying to say it. It just depends on what level.
Hell yeah. What I'll add to all of this is it is about perception of reality. And in particular, I think it's about the perception of reality we have and Marco, I think, is mentioned this because this is a bit that I caught in the commentary. I think is the I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill song, right? Marco says Blueberry Hill song has some depth. The hill represents a peak moment that precious memories can't bring back what's gone. Gone with the plot. Goes with the plot as well. All right, so what I was going to say is at this moment in a film where they're talking about that, Terry Gilliam says, somebody like, I think the producer says, this is a good song. And he goes, yes, but it goes with the theme too. Nostalgia is a big part of this theme. And it's not just the song and how the song can relate to the movie, because, if Terry Gilliam's putting a pop song or a popular song in a movie, it's going to have some kind of lyrical connotation to it. That's like somehow tied in thematically or poetically, right? And or both. And with this one, he said it's Bruce Willis's characters. It's Cole's nostalgia for that song to represent a certain time. When he goes back into the past, and like Brooks said, he's talking about breathing the air, loving the music of this time. That resonates with me right now. Never in my life have I ever had such a aching feeling of nostalgia in my life. When I go and look at my He-Man figures, there's something sad about it. There's something aching about it. Like I ache for simpler times. I ache for younger times. I ache for memories with people that we've lost. I ache for a time in my life that feels like it's better. But if we went back right now as grown-ass men to 1983, 1986, 1994, 1998, whatever the fuck it was, I bet we'd go, damn, we're falling apart. We don't even realize it. That nostalgia taints the reality of what was going on in the past. Because who are we?
We hated it then, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're damned then, just as we're damned now. There's no difference. The only difference is, and here's what's crazy. I'll have nostalgia for shit like 10 years ago. Be like, oh man, those were the days.
You have nostalgia for the bad times.
Dude,
It's
I'm
so
starting to
weird,
get
like-
nostalgia for the pandemic.
Yeah, you'll go through some shit and you'll be like, damn, I remember when I went through that. That was crazy. And you're just like,
man.
wow, it was just a different time, man.
And what's crazy is
getting on it, yeah.
What's crazy is that how our perception of reality, especially past reality, is somehow tainted by our memory. And the persistence of memory mixed with perception of reality and actuality being what it is, but our perception being something different. Everybody's reality is equal and valid, but we all have a different reality. We all think about 1986 in different ways. Some people would talk about how the government sucked. Nobody trusted it. It was the end of the Reagan era. The economy was about to go to shit. We were like in like all these fucking secret wars and all that shit. And then other people would just go, Transformers, the movie came out.
Right.
That shit's dope as fuck. 1986 is the greatest year of all time. And I'm not trying to like trivialize it, but basically like these kind of thoughts of nostalgia of these songs. Thank you for the fireworks, man. But it's about how the perception of reality exists, but how our memory and our nostalgic memories will taint that, which does somehow affect our perception of reality. So sometimes maybe when we go, y'all don't know what it was like back in the day, maybe they do. We just don't remember it being as harsh as it actually was at the time.
Let me just say, dude, I've just noticed this recently. You watch a lot of special features about movies from the 80s. One documentary be talking about like the 80s, it was fast and fun and everyone was just wilding out and everything. And the other time, well, it was the Reagan era. These were dark times in America. It's like, pick one. What was it?
That's what I mean. You go like this. This is what you do. Everything sucks. This sucks. The world sucks. The world's going to shit. Blah, blah, blah. 40 years later. They don't do it like how they used to do it back in the days. Back in the days was so much better. It's so weird.
We heard that same shit, right? When we were younger, we heard that same shit, right? I'll tell you what, this is what it was actually like back in like, let's go back 40 years, 1983. I was only 2, but I guarantee you it was like this. Man, we're so divisive right now as a society. I think America is probably on the downturn. Consumerism is fucking up everything. Capitalism's kind of been the wrong move. Oh my God, war. I think the Middle East is about to erupt. I think we're about to really fucking lose it. I'm worried about these Russian motherfuckers. It's absolutely insane. Oh my God. Have you heard about this new diet fad? It's great. It's evil to eat bread. It's evil to do this. It's terrible stuff. Man, the music today sucks. It was way better back in the day. Blah, blah, blah.
Did
blah,
you know
blah,
that
blah.
cops are beating up black people? It's
Yeah,
going
same,
on.
yeah, and that too. Right? So,
Remember when comedies used to be funny?
Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, they would never make Blazing Saddles today. And somewhere in 1983, some executive is going, Don't Fear the Reaper would be perfect for this movie.
For every post-apocalyptic movie.
All right. Time to rate the film. Out of 5, you digs. You out there in the chat. What do you give Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys? Jelani, kick us off.
It's a hard one for me, but I'm gonna give it a 4, just because I know the ending when I saw the beginning. I hated that. It hurt my feelings because I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He's watching his own death. And it's just so it heartbreaks me because I'm waiting for that to happen. Even when they're going to the airport, I'm like, don't go to the airport. Just let it happen. Just let the pandemic happen. You guys be just happy in this time and be okay. And just let it end. But it's just for that reason. Everything else, it's a great film. It's shot beautifully. One of Terry Gilliam's best. It's a decent score. The cast is all on point. We didn't mention Christopher Plummer is for real. His Southern accent is just so, I don't know. I think it's egregious, but at the same time, like he's still doing it. He's still pulling it off, and it's all right. It's all right, I should say. But everybody's great in this movie, and it's like I said, one of Terry Gilliam's fine. So I give it 4.
All right, 4 you digs, not too shabby. What about you, Brooks?
I give it a 4.5. Like, it's not perfect, but like I really did enjoy this movie, and like I feel like, I feel like it's a movie I would want to like revisit it sometime. Maybe like give it a little while and then try rewatching it again. It seems like it's an interesting movie, and like it has a lot to say, I think, and the messages, it's one of those movies where the messages kind of resonate throughout time. These ideas are still around. Like the more things change, the more they stay the same. So yeah, I think this is not perfect, but still like a pretty exceptional movie.
Hell yeah, 4.5 from Brooks. What about you, Verno? Where do you sit?
If I could go 4.25, I might land there, but your digs are free these days, so I'll give it a 4.5. It's one of those, like, I don't really have many complaints about the movie. I just know in my soul I don't feel like giving it a 5. There's nothing I don't like about it. Even that middle section doesn't sag much for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something. It's probably because it's not as fun to watch as I remembered it being, with all the anxiety that it induces in me. So 4.5, man. This is a classic. This is one of the best movies of the 90s, I think.
I appreciate your rating. What I don't appreciate is your statement about the status of the you dig. You can do a 2.69, asshole. You can do a point whatever you want, as long as it's followed by a 69. It's totally valid here. Okay?
4.25.
No, you
69,
can't fucking
man.
change it now.
Oh,
man.
I did it.
It's too late. Now it's 4.5. You're
I
forever
already
lost.
changed it. It happened.
Was good.
What about you,
did.
Fable? Where do you sit?
Yeah, I would give this movie a straight 5. I think it's a classic, man. I think all the acting performances are great. I think it has a lasting effect on whoever watches it. I mean, this is Brooks' first time watching. I've been with Brooks on a lot of these things, and I've never heard him say, yeah, I'm going to probably revisit this movie. As a matter of fact, I watched it twice before this review.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So if Brooks is saying that, and we're expounding on it, and we're still finding themes, and we're finding like Easter eggs in it and stuff like that, I think it's well worth a 5. But I'm not gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 4.69, dudes, because it does lose its luster after that first viewing. That first viewing is that mind bending. It's like The Sixth Sense. You get that twist. It's like, holy shit, this is the most brilliant thing ever. And then you watch it again and you're like, I know, yeah, okay, I see what they did here. I get it. It just doesn't have that same effect. So 4.69 just for that, but it's a classic for sure.
All right, for me, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4. The reason why is because I think Terry Gilliam's a brilliant director. I can name 5 of his films that I think are 5 you digs. This one's just not quite perfect. It's not quite perfect, and it sags. It does sag for me a little bit towards the middle. I don't buy the love story. I still find that a difficult thing for me as an audience member to kind of get over narratively. But I love all the themes. I love the performances. I love the music. I love the look of it. I think it's an incredibly solid film, but I just think that I don't really believe that love story. It drags just a little bit. So for me, I think it's a good, solid, enthusiastic 4 you digs. And that's how a real critic fucking does it. Right? No, but I'm just kidding. We got a 4 from me, a 4 from Jelani, a 4.5 from Brooks, a 4.69 from Fable, and a 4.23969. I don't know wherever the fuck that was, Verno, but
he got it.
That's a PCP average of 4.369. So pretty solid movie out there. A lot of 3.5s in the chat. Y'all are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I would also like to point out,
I don't want to call out the chat, but y'all suck tonight. What's up?
People
with that?
saying Brad Pitt's butt. I mean, did you notice Bruce Willis'
Willis's butt 2
He
times.
had a bitter butt.
I turned to my
Bruce
wife. I
Willis
said,
had a big
"Holy
butt.
shit!"
Bruce Willis was thick. That's the thing. That's the difference.
He got a thick butt.
Van Damme's got a better ass than all of it. Chill out, man. Like, no lie. Come on, man. We all know that. Speaking of big butts, there's Stu out there in the chat. What's up, man? How you doing? All right. Thus ends the review of you arrived just in time, Stu. Thus ends the review of 12 Monkeys. Next week for PCP movie night, we're not going to be here. We're not going to be here next week because I got MegaCon this weekend and didn't want to have to rush in something because every time I have to rush in a movie, getting back from a con, I wind up doing fucking Page Master, some bullshit like that. After a long day, coming home to watch some bullshit like Page Master.
You ain't lying.
Manny.
Thank you, Manny.
It's good because I'm being sent back in time to stop a plague next Monday. So it works out.
So next Monday we're not here, but 2 weeks from tonight. Oh my goodness, y'all! Escape from New York.
Mm-hmm.
We're continuing a look at some of the greatest American filmmakers of all time, including Spike Lee, Martin Scorsese, Terry Gilliam, and now John Carpenter. Escape from New York, 2 weeks from tonight, here on PCP Movie Night. Jelani, thank you for being here, man. What you got coming up?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is a great film to do it. We've been hitting some bangers now. I do appreciate it. I knew we were gonna run out of Police Academy really fast. So
We started, it's all planned.
Yeah.
You know, we start with Police Academy. We do some of the greatest films in American cinema history, and even some British cinema, and even some other things. Then we do March Madness, then we do Cruise Choice, and then it's all downhill from there.
That's right.
Then we get to eventually get
absolutely
to
not.
Horror Fest, where that's when the You Dig is free. That's when the You Dig is free
Right.
during Horror Fest.
We just lose it. We lose ourselves. Well, yeah, I mean, Brooks and I do Go Figure reviews. This week I have no clue what we're doing. I'll have to figure it out when I get there. I've been very lazy about posting things, and I'm working on that. Just a lot of stuff has been going on, so I haven't been able to do as much as I want to. But I still haven't posted the Trouble Bubble video, so that should be coming soon. Trap Jaw is out. So please check that out. And yeah, thanks guys for watching our videos, and like, share, and subscribe. All the fun shit that you do.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
All right, Brooks, thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
12 Monkeys. Great action movie with a lot of laughs.
Great action, real right, with a lot of laughs. God damn, man. That's like the perfect thing, man. All right. What about Verno, thank you so much for being here. You got a show, Blood Splatter Chatter. Everybody needs to check it out. Why don't you tell us what you got coming up, my man? Thank you for being here.
You betcha. Thanks for having me. This week on Thursday, we're doing Tucker and Dale versus Evil because I had to give the channel a break after the wild ass movie I put him through last week that pretty much grossed everybody out. But really, dude, go back and check out Zombie Fest. It's kind of the thing I've been building up to and wanting to do forever is every other month pick a subgenre, pick a theme to kind of dig into and really study and go through. And like Zombie Fest couldn't have went better. I loved it. It was awesome. Thank you, Fable. Thank you, Rockin' Robbie, for being there. So it went really well. So if you didn't check those out, go check it out.
Hell yeah. Everybody go check that shit out. What about you, Fable? I know you got a show coming up this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Everybody go over to One Collection Down YouTube channel. Blame Fable and his amazing friends with Nick Comic Culture and Dr. Doom's Fan Club returns at 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest that day, and I hope there's some news that happens this week. But either way, we'll be hanging out on a Friday night. You know how we do. We always have a lot of fun no matter what. We always turn mundane topics into like, you know, a conversation, a 2-hour conversation somehow. So come hang out with us again, Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, One Collection Down YouTube.
Hell yeah. As far as us here, I'm on MegaCon, so we're taking a little bit of a break on some things. Weekly comic book review is going to be normal, but no wrap up this week. No appearances on DHS or Blood Splatter Chatter or Blame Fable. Unfortunately, I'm going to be busy hanging out with Spillio, his lovely wife Brittany, Bueller, a bunch of other people. I would tell you what, we're going to be getting shit faced and having fun. So just pay attention to the socials because you'll see all the pictures and all the videos that will make you jealous.
Yes.
MegaCon, the PCP experience, y'all. Second year in a row. Let's do it. Let's try to get Eli Roth out to Twin Peaks. Y'all get on socials right now. Start tagging Eli Roth. Say, meet up with Rockin' Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers for tequila shots at Twin Peaks. I fucking dare you. International Boulevard, Orlando, Florida. This weekend, let's do it. But as far as to answer KG's question, this is a weekly show. We're just taking next weekend off because I'll be getting back from Orlando. But in 2 weeks, we'll be talking about Escape from New York. And then right after that, it's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Then it's Jackie Brown. And then it's March Madness time, y'all. So that announcement is going to be happening on the next Rockin' Robbie Live, which is going to be 2 weeks again because MegaCon, Super Bowl, all that shiznit. Anyway, for my final thoughts, I'll just say this. I can't think of a quote from this movie, y'all. Shit.